Remember the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason, and plot. We all know the rhyme, but do you know the real story behind it? The one filled with secret meetings in smoky taverns, desperate men, and a plan so audacious it would have changed the course of English history forever. This isn't just a nursery rhyme. It's the story of the Gunpowder Plot. To understand why a group of men would want to blow up the king and Parliament, we have to rewind to the year 1603. Queen Elizabeth I is dead, and the new king, James I, has come down from Scotland to take the throne. Now, England's Catholics had faced decades of persecution, and they hoped James, whose mother was the Catholic Mary, Queen of Scots, would be more tolerant. They were wrong. The fines for not attending Protestant church services were increased, and priests were ordered to leave the country. For many Catholics, hope turned to despair, and for a small, radical group, despair turned to desperation. Enter Robert Catesby. Catesby was a charismatic and devout Catholic gentleman, a natural leader who had seen his family's fortune dwindle due to fines for their faith. He was a man of action, tired of waiting for change. He believed that the only way to restore Catholicism to England was through a single, devastating strike. He began to gather a small circle of trusted co-conspirators. There was his cousin Thomas Wintour, a seasoned soldier, and his friend John Wright, a renowned swordsman. And then there was the man whose name would become synonymous with the plot, Guy Fawkes. Guy Fawkes, or Guido Fawkes as he sometimes called himself, was a soldier of fortune, a hardened veteran who had spent years fighting for Catholic Spain in the Netherlands. He was an explosives expert, a man with nerves of steel and unwavering conviction. Catesby knew he was the perfect man to handle the dirty work. He was the muscle, the technician, brought in specifically to manage the gunpowder and light the fuse. Their plan was breathtakingly simple and terrifyingly effective. They would blow up the House of Lords during the state opening of Parliament on November 5th, 1605. In that one fiery blast, they would eliminate the king, the queen, the heir to the throne, and the entire Protestant ruling class, judges, bishops, and aristocrats. In the chaos that followed, they planned to kidnap the king's young daughter, Princess Elizabeth, and install her as a puppet Catholic queen. It was a complete reset, a violent revolution designed to turn back the clock. To pull this off, they needed a base of operations. The conspirators managed to rent a cellar directly beneath the House of Lords. Can you imagine the sheer audacity? Under the cover of darkness, they began smuggling in barrels of gunpowder one by one. It was a slow, back-breaking process. They moved 36 barrels into the cellar that nearly a ton of gunpowder and carefully hid them under a pile of firewood and coal. For months, this deadly secret lay dormant, a time bomb ticking away beneath the very heart of the English government. As the date drew closer, the plot began to unravel. The circle of conspirators had grown, and with more people involved, the risk of a leak increased. Some of the plotters grew anxious. They were about to kill hundreds of people, and not all of them were their enemies. What about the Catholic lords who would also be present at the state opening? Were they to be sacrificed for the greater good? This moral dilemma created a fatal crack in their secrecy. On the night of October 26th, just 10 days before the planned attack, an anonymous letter was delivered to Lord Monteagle, a prominent Catholic nobleman. The letter was cryptic, warning him to devise some excuse to shift your attendance at this parliament. It spoke of a terrible blow that would be struck without anyone seeing who hurt them. Monteagle, unsure what to make of it, did the sensible thing. He took it straight to the king's chief minister, Robert Cecil. At first, the authorities were skeptical, but Cecil was a cautious man. He ordered a search of the vaults beneath Parliament. The first search, on November 4th, revealed nothing but a large pile of firewood and a servant named John Johnson, who was actually Guy Fawkes. Fawkes claimed the wood belonged to his master. The searches left, but Cecil's suspicions were not quieted. He ordered a second, more thorough search in the early hours of November 5th. This time, they found him. Fawkes was discovered still in the cellar, dressed in his boots and spurs, ready to make a quick getaway. In his pockets, they found a slow-burning match and a watch. And beneath the firewood, they found the gunpowder. The plot was foiled at the 11th hour. Guy Fawkes was taken to the Tower of London. At first, he was defiant, admitting only his own name and his intention to blow up the king, but under intense interrogation and torture which was legally authorized by King James himself, he began to break. Over several days, he revealed the details of the plot and, finally, the names of his fellow conspirators. His signature on his confession, taken before and after the torture, tells a chilling story. The first is strong and clear. The second is a barely legible, shaky scrawl, the mark of a broken man. While Fawkes was being tortured, the other conspirators had fled London. Robert Catesby and the core group made a last stand at a house in Staffordshire, but their luck had run out. Their own gunpowder, which they had laid out to dry, accidentally ignited, injuring several of them. It was a bitter irony. Soon after, the sheriff and his men surrounded the house. In the ensuing shootout, Catesby and several other key plotters were killed. The rest were captured and, along with Guy Fawkes, were publicly tried and convicted of high treason. Their end was gruesome. In January 1606, the surviving conspirators were subjected to the full penalty for treason. They were hanged, drawn, and quartered in a brutal public spectacle meant as a terrifying warning to any who would dare to challenge the crown. The failure of the gunpowder plot had a profound and lasting impact. Instead of restoring Catholicism, it sparked a new wave of anti-Catholic hysteria that would last for centuries. The government used the plot to pass even harsher laws, tightening its grip on the Catholic population. And across London, people lit bonfires to celebrate the king's survival, a tradition that continues to this day as Bonfire Night. Every November 5th, effigies of Guy Fawkes are burned and fireworks light up the night sky, a noisy, joyful celebration born from a dark and deadly conspiracy. So the next time you hear remember, the 5th of November, you'll know it's more than just a rhyme. It's a reminder of a moment when history held its breath, when a handful of desperate men came terrifyingly close to plunging a nation into chaos, all in the name of faith and rebellion. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this dive into history interesting, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the shadows of the past. Let me know in the comments what other historical events you'd like to explore. Until next time, stay curious.